Good afternoon, race fans. Welcome to round one of season one of the Ottercar AI Racing League. Tonight, here we are at Hickory Motor Speedway, located in Hickory, North Carolina. This place is pretty wildly considered to be the birthplace of NASCAR's stars. And today, I think we will also just have to see if this track becomes the birthplace of Ottercar racing stars as well. Drivers such as Junior Johnson, Ned Jarrett, and Ralph Earnhardt have all been track champions here back in the late 90s. And while it's not on the NASCAR schedule anymore, this track still hosts weekly racing from the smaller divisions, such as the Modified Series, such as what we're racing here today. Uh, the late models often come here, as well as local classes such as street stocks, four bangers, all sorts of the typical short track cars you would expect to see at a speedway like this. But that said, it looks like it is about time for our drivers to start making their way onto the track. So let's take a quick look at our starting grid presented by Hybrid Development Team and the Rainbow Society. Starting on pole today is Frosty Film in the number 7 machine, with Felix Marais in the 217 to his outside, starting in row 1. In third place today, representing the Blazed and Drunk drivers in the 776 machine, is Valnar. To his outside, Lake in the number 330 entry. In fifth place, Humongous in the 621 entry, with Bend Over in the 69 to his outside. Back in seventh place, Stick in the number 53 machine, and Octave in the 11. Back in row 5, we have Pav in the 12 machine, part of the Rainbow Society Team 1, and Dragon Space Queen in the 37, starting in 10th place, also representing the Blazed and Drunk drivers. Back in 11th, the Mystery Man himself in the 369, we have Drop Table Roster, and rounding out the 6th row, Oh You Know, in the number 420 machine. Starting back in row number 7, we have thirds in the number 3 entry, and Sarah Saviron in the 117, starting in 14th place. In 15th, Pete Comedy in the 717, and Arvo Soberov in the 429 and 16th. In row 9, we have Madcap in the 38 and Maroon in the 25 entry. In row 10, we have August in the number 21 and Zoe in the 666 entry. In 21st, Med in the number 1 machine. In 22nd, Halo in the 0. In 23rd, Bloody Wolf in the 93 entry. And rounding out our field today, Piper in the number 8 entry. 24 cars make the grid tonight. With this being AI racing, we will be having 24 cars every race. And the pace car is just about to turn in here, and we will be going green flag racing here at Hickory Motor Speedway for 75 laps. Here we go, race fans. Frosty Film making a quick dive down to the inside, the outside line not seeming to work very well for Felix Marais in the 217 machine. Both Valnar, Humongous, and Frosty Film all making that outside line work, with Stick very quickly making his way past Felix as well. The outside line definitely seeming like it's struggling so far early on in this race. Felix just pinned up to the high side, not anywhere really he can go for right now. Drop Table Roster looks like he just found himself a spot down on the inside line. Felix still pinned up high. He has lost several positions here tonight, as it seems we have a little bit of an issue with the timing and scoring board. Oh, and trouble back in the back. That looked like trouble for Med. The caution flag is out. I'm not quite sure what happened there, race fans, but it did not sound pretty, that's for sure. Let's see if we can take a look back and figure out what happened to Med there in that number 1 machine? Oh, it looks like they might have pushed it 3 wide there. Bendover got up into the wall, bounced back down into Med and Halo and Sarah Saviron. Oh, that is not how these drivers wanted their race to start tonight, race fans. Let's see if we can get another perspective of that there. Let's take a look from Halo's perspective. It looks like, yeah, just Bendover got up into the wall and bounced down onto the track, and there was nowhere a lot of these drivers could go to avoid that. Not how these drivers wanted their race to start. Let's see if we can get an onboard view with Piper in the number 8 machine. This is a point of view from Piper's nose camera here. He sends it down into turn 3. Big wrecking happening up in front of him. And Maroon was a little bit in the way of that shot. Let's see if we can get something a little bit better. Piper does have a helmet camera on, so let's see if we can get a better view from Piper's helmet camera here. Bendover gets up into the wall, comes back down to the track. Piper did manage to make it through that wreck, but a lot of the cars that were stuck up on the high line there did not have a lot they could do to avoid that wreck here tonight at the Hickory Motor Speedway. But the lights are off on the pace car. We will be 54 laps to go when we go green flag racing here again. Frosty Film is still your race leader. The pace car is off. We're going green flag racing here again at Hickory Motor Speedway. Frosty off to a big jump on the lead there. Valinar making his way down to the inside, but still not able to get the jump on the high line. Oh, contact between Humongous and I'm not sure who else was involved there. Humongous made contact with the outside wall, and I think he collected someone else, but he is still going all the way back down to the 17th spot. It looks like he is down on power from scraping the wall there. He might have to pit in next time by. It looks like that's what he's doing. Unfortunate for the driver of the 621 entry here tonight. You can see him down on the infield there, making his way down to pit lane. Meanwhile, Valinar is starting to catch up to Frosty Film here tonight. He's gotten the gap down to 0.3 of a second here, and gaining. Back in the 10th spot, August and Piper are battling to maintain their top 10 position. August up on the high side there, which seems so far to have not been working very well for the drivers here tonight. Piper gets around him, Octave gets around him, now Felix gets around him down on the low side. Lake gets by him. Until he can find an opening down there on the bottom line, it looks like people are just going to be freight trading past him here tonight. Third starts making the pass on him as well, but she backs out of the corner there. Not much August can do until he gets an opening, and there it is. Does he dive down? No, he keeps it on the high line. It seems August feels that he can make this line work. Whether or not that happens out in actuality is another thing to be seen, but he is certainly trying his best here. Back in the 16th position. As the timing and scoring freaks out a little bit again, but it seems to have itself back in order. Up in the front, Frosty Film still leading this race. Valinar not too far behind, still maintaining that 0.3 of a second gap behind Frosty Film. Stick back in third place, a second back off the leader, and Drop Table Roster in fourth. Then Peak Comedy rounding out your top 5 here tonight. That said, let's take a look back at our hard charger here today. Piper, in that number 8 entry, is currently in the 9th position. He is up 15 spots from where he qualified here today in just 24 laps. That wreck certainly helped, of course, but that also came from a good deal of driving effort. And now he is maintaining his top 10 position and looking to gain some more here at Hickory Motor Speedway. Speaking of top 10s, Felix Murray is trying to work his way around Madcap in that 38 entry. These two drivers have been fairly close to each other for most of the race now. Madcap up 7 positions from where he qualified, and Felix down 9. Not how Felix wanted his night to be going, but there is still more than half the race left for Felix to try and make some of these spots back and get back at least to where he qualified, if not into a top 5 position. But that might be a little bit of wishful thinking for the driver of this 271 machine here tonight. Further back, our last car on the lead lap, August in the number 21 machine, currently in 16th, 3 positions up from where he qualified. August currently the last driver on the lead lap. Every other car is either currently in pit lane or Arvo Soberov, driver of the 429 entry, who is currently about 15 laps down here tonight. But the important part is he is on the track, so the longer the rest of these drivers stay in pit, the more positions he's going to gain. So good on him for being able to get that car fixed up and back out onto the speedway here. Looking at the battle for our 6th place position, Pav and Maroon making moves on each other here. Pav up 3 spots from where he qualified, and Maroon up 11 here tonight. Both drivers lining up a little bit. Maroon has been trying to make moves on the outside, but they've been pretty good about seeing that hasn't worked very well for the rest of the field. So the couple of times Maroon has seemed to have considered trying to go for the outside pass, they have backed out of it a little bit. Back up front though, Frosty Film and Valinar. Val has caught up to Frosty and is battling for the lead position here. Both drivers side by side. Frosty has been pushed up to the outside. Stick pushes Valinar down onto the apron a little bit there, but he keeps the car straight. Val does keep going a little bit down to the apron there. That is a little bit scary to see. He does seem to be making it work here tonight, but in my experience driving on this track, touching the apron, very bad for your car's stability. If you get your tires too far down off of that baking, the car loves to snap left on you. And sometimes you can use that in your favor to get better rotation through the corner, but more often than not, that ends up with a wrecked car and hurt feelings. So Val has been making some risky moves tonight, but it does look like it's working out for him as he is our new race leader here at Hickory Motor Speedway. Behind him, Stick and Peak Comedy, both still in contention for the win here. Peak Comedy in that 717 machine up 11 positions from where he started, driving that, what he describes as the Reddit car. Rumor has it, race fans, he did not have a livery prepared for the round 1 of Ottercar. He had just a solid orange car here, and he printed some stickers he found off of Google Images and pasted them on the side of his car here tonight, folks. Race control was fine with it. It doesn't violate any rules, and now he's here driving that most car ever. That's about all we can really say for it. But back in the 10th position, Felix Murray and Zoe in the 666 machine side by side. Lake in thirds also side by side behind them. Felix still very far down from where he qualified, but he has gained some positions. Madcap up there making the pass on Piper. Things are getting a little hectic back in the midfield tonight. Zoe is trying her best to make that outside line work as they almost go 3 wide behind them between Octave, Zoe, and Lake. Or Octave thirds and Lake, sorry. Thankfully, all drivers managed to keep their cars going. Octave there in that number 11 machine. He is 4 positions down from where he qualified tonight, but he's still rolling, working on his way to get back into the top 10. He and Zoe now battling. It seems like Zoe still got stuck up on that high line and fell back several positions here tonight. Up in P10, still Felix trying to squeeze his way into a top 10 here tonight, though he is stuck up on the high line, so that's not going to work out very well for him, I don't think. He is managing to keep side by side with Lake in that 330 entry, though. So it is possible that the high line is starting to rubber in a little bit. That said, he is falling back now. Octave 2 is inside. The inside... Oh, Bend Over is coming out of pits. That was a little scary. I thought that was someone wrecking, but it's just Bend Over coming back onto the racetrack. I believe 47 laps down. So any hopes he have of getting back on the lead lap are definitely dashed, but he is at least still in this race, if not 48 laps behind the leader. Up in front, Frosty Films, back to your race lead. Valnar looks like he got shoved down a little bit onto the apron, as it sounds like we have trouble on the front stretch, maybe? No, it looks like the track is clear. I could have swore I heard some sheet metal breaking, but it looks like we're all good to go here tonight at Hickory. Oh, no! Now the caution's out. August just got absolutely dumped there. I'm not quite sure what prompted that. That just came out of nowhere. Let's take a look here at August in that number 21 machine, driving behind thirds in the number 3. He goes down low to make the pass on thirds, and it looks like thirds might have made contact with Zoe there and fell back down the track. Let's see if we can't get a better angle of whatever just happened there. They go down into turn 3. Thirds in that number 3 machine. It does look like thirds drifts up and makes contact with Zoe, and that bounces her back down the track. Very unfortunate to see. Let's just get a good confirmation on that with our blimp camera. Thirds in that number 3 machine up in front. Thirds does drift up the track a little bit, gets contact from Zoe's left front nerf bar, bounces thirds back down, and there was just nowhere August could really go there, unfortunately. Let's ride on board with August and get his perspective of the wreck here. He goes down for the pass on thirds, and he did not expect thirds to bump down into him. But on bullring tracks like this, that's sometimes just how it goes. You can have perfect situational awareness and still get involved in a wreck just from being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It does look like, nope, August is pitting in. August has pit in for damage. I was going to say it looks like August was staying out, but there he is down in his pit stall in that number 21 machine. That probably is going to be the end of his night here tonight, unfortunately. But lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car. We will be going back green with 14 laps to go here at Hickory. The pace car is off, and We're going green flag racing here again at Hickory Motor Speedway. Frosty Film again off on a great launch on that inside line. Valnar quickly diving it down to the inside. He definitely knows that that's been the preferred line for drivers all night tonight. Pete Comedy stuck up on the high side though. He's going to have a hard time getting down to the inside, especially with Valnar continuing to get his wheels down onto the apron. You did see a pretty big wiggle out of Valnar going into turn 1 there. He almost lost control of the car. He came down so low onto the apron. You can see it there. He's getting both left tires onto the apron, and it's making his car very unstable. He's keeping it on the very edge of grip here tonight, but it seems to be working for him as he tries to catch his way back up to Frosty Film. Further back, Pete Comedy and Pav still battling for position. Oh, that looks like trouble, and it is. Oh, dear. The caution is out. Pete Comedy is on his lid. Pete Comedy been battling for that podium position, and it looks like now those dreams are dashed for his race here tonight at Hickory Motor Speedway. Let's take a look at that from our blimp cam yet again. We're going to need a top-down view of whatever just happened there. Let's put our playback on quarter speed so we can try and get a bit of a better understanding of what happened there. Pete Comedy in that 717 machine up on the high line, Pav down on his inside in the 12. Pete Comedy turns down. I'd say that's mostly a racing incident. I think both drivers changed their lanes mid-corner there. Pav bumps off of Pete Comedy into drop table roster, bounces back up the track into Pete Comedy, and Pete Comedy gets sent hard into the outside wall, lands on top of Madcap, nearly collects Felix Murray there. And it looks like the rest of the field was successfully able to check up and avoid the wreck there. Let's take another look at that. Let's ride on board with Pete Comedy and see just what he saw in that wreck there. Riding on board with the 717 of Pete Comedy. He gets a little tap from Pav, and then, oh, just massive impact for Pete Comedy there. He didn't even see it coming. Oh boy. That I shouldn't be laughing. This is a terrible outcome for this driver. But I gotta say that was one of the more spectacular crashes I've seen in my time commentating racing here, race fans. Let's get one last look of what happened to Pete Comedy. Just a terrible, terrible hit that sent him way up into the air. That almost went over the catch fence. It's unfortunate we're not giving out bonus points for highest flips here tonight. But we are going green flag racing here next time by. We're going to have 4 laps to go. 4-lap shootout here at Hickory Motor Speedway. There is no NASCAR overtime in this series, so if the caution comes out again, that will be the end of the race. Let's hope these drivers can keep it clean. We're going green flag racing here at Hickory. Frosty Film, as usual, getting a good run down on the outside along with drop table roster. And Maroon. Valnar is just stuck up on that high side. There's not much he can do here. Octave as well down on the low line. Looks like everyone is just going to be freight training past Val until he can make it back down to the low line, which he has. Val now on the inside of Octave, trying to make a pass there. He gets it. Valnar side by side with Octave. Val is going to have the position as we get the white flag. Up in the front, Frosty Film with a fairly handy read, almost half a second. As he rounds the final corner, Frosty Film is your winner here at Hickory Motor Speedway. Round 1 of Ottercar Season 1. He fought tooth and nail for that win here tonight. He qualified up in pole, and he certainly did not maintain this position, but he managed to battle it back very, very skillfully. He and Valnar were exchanging blows all night tonight. And he finally made it work. Frosty Film in your number 7 machine here tonight. Sadly, no burnout, as the AI don't know anything about race celebration. They've already pulled all of their cars back onto the hauler. So let's take a quick look at your race results here at Hickory Motor Speedway. Frosty Film in the number 7 car won the race tonight. Right behind him in P2, drop table roster, the mystery man himself in the 369. Third place, 25 car of Maroon, representing the Rainbow Society Team 2, rounding out your podium here tonight. In fourth place in the 776 machine, Valnart for Blazed and Drunk Drivers. Rounding out your top 5 here is Octave in the 11. Sixth place goes to Dragon Space Queen in the 37, also with Blazed and Drunk Drivers. Seventh place goes to Thirds in the number 3 for Rainbow Society Team 1. Eighth is Lake in the 330. Ninth is Madcap in the 38 for Blazed and Drunk Drivers. And rounding out the top 10 is Felix Marais. And 11th is Stick in the 53. 12th is Piper in the 8. 13th is Zoe in the 666 entry. 14th is Pav in the 12. 15th, Peak Comedy in the 717. 10 laps down after that terrible flip for our final caution. 16th, Arvo Soberov in the 429 machine. 17th, August in the 21. 18th, Humongous in the 621. 19th to Oh You Know in the 420 machine. 10th goes to Med in the number 1 car. 21st to Bend Over in the 69. 22nd to Halo in the 0. 23rd to Bloody Wolf in the 93. And finally, rounding out our field tonight, Sarah Saviran in the 117, finishing the race having only completed 4 laps. That's all we have for you today, folks, at Hickory Motor Speedway with round 1 of Ottercar AI Racing. Next week, same time, Saturday at noon Eastern, we will be heading to the .4 mile or 0.64 kilometer long Southern National Motorsports Park. Barely bigger than this track, but considerably higher banking, so expect things to be very fast and potentially very chaotic next week as we go to a very, very fast short track. I've been your host, Icy Otter. Thank you all for coming out today to watch the Ottercar AI Racing League here at Hickory Motor Speedway, and I will see you all next week. Have a good evening.